Good morning, mathematicians. We are looking at lesson 1, share sandwiches. And in this cool down, we're really answering the question, how much? Number 1 says to draw a diagram to show how much sandwich each person will get. And the situation is stated below. 3 sandwiches are equally shared by 4 people. Okay, now I'm going to show a couple different ways that we could model this. And let's start off with just kind of almost like a sub-sandwich shape. We saw this even in our lesson. Let's imagine that these are 3 Subway-style sandwiches. And we have these 3 sandwiches, and now they are going to be shared with 4 people. So I'm going to take this first sub-sandwich, and I'm going to divide it up into 4 relatively equal slices. And if these 4 people were going to be eating this, maybe person 1 I'm going to represent in yellow. Person 1 might get 1 piece of this sandwich, 1 piece of this sandwich, 1 piece of this sandwich. And in this way, we're seeing that person 1 in yellow would get 1/4 of the first and the second and the third sandwich. So that is one way that you might model this with a diagram. Another way that you could do it, just a different strategy. Some students will think about this almost like an area model. If I have 3 squares and I draw those to have generally the same shape, now I could break this into like quadrants, right? So I'm breaking each of these 4 squares into 4 pieces. And in the same way, we're going to model that person 1 would get 1/4 of this, and 1/4 of this, and 1/4 of this. That's very similar to the first diagram. The first diagram just is more of a sub-sandwich shape, and the second diagram is really more of an area model idea. The last way that I do want to show that I see students model this, and I want us all to hopefully see our thinking in this key. Sometimes as students, we will picture this and we'll go ahead and instead of thinking about each of the 4 being equally divided and then capturing 1/4 of each, sometimes students will say, okay, well, if this is true, if this is 3 sandwiches being shared by 4 people, then right from the bat, I could go ahead and divide the first 2 just into halves. And I could say, well, this piece is going to go to person 1, and this piece is going to go to person 2. And this half is going to go to person 3, and this half is going to go to person 4. Now, I still have 1 remaining sandwich, so I'm going to take that remaining sandwich and I'm going to slice that one into 4ths, and then I'm going to assign those quarter pieces. 1/4 to person 1, the second to person 2, and person 3, and person 4. Now, once again, boys and girls, you did not have to do this multiple ways, but it is good for our brain to see a different idea. Plus, I'm hoping that you can now check your way from number 1. Okay, now when we go down, number 2 says to explain or show how you know that each person gets the same amount of sandwich. Now, I'm going to go ahead and type this in because really here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain. I'm going to explain what that diagram above, how it answers that question of how much sandwich each person will get, right? So, for instance, if you divided it up in one of those first 2 diagram ways, the sub-sandwich or the area model, really what you're seeing is that each person will get 1/4 of all 3 sandwiches. We see that in the way that we've modeled the first and the second diagrams above. Now, if you are, especially if you did that final model where we labeled it 1/2 for person 1, the second half for person 2, and so on, you might have an explanation more like this. Each person will get 1/2 and 1/4 of these sandwiches, right? They each get their own half, and that's going to use up the first and the second sandwich, but then with the third sandwich, they're going to get 1/4 of that third sandwich, okay? Now, others of us in our explanation might go ahead and represent that as a fraction. So we could say that each person will get 3/4 of a sandwich, right? Because really that's what they're getting no matter how we modeled it. Here I see 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, right? In the sub-sandwich model. Here I see 1/4, 2/4, 3/4 in the area model. And here I see, let me circle this. Here I see 1/2, oops, switch back, here we go. Here I see 1/2 and 1/4. Well, a half plus a fourth equals 3/4. So no matter how you splice it, we are seeing that idea of 3/4. Now, you did not have to say it that way. Certainly that was one option, but we really have written out 3 different, very brief, but explanations that do answer the question of how much of the 3 sandwiches each of our 4 people are going to get. And that finishes out our cool down number 1.